And we are back on the chosen baseball journey. I'm Jonathan A. Cohen with former MLB slugger Karim Garcia. Karim, I'm loving that jersey, my friend. We're in the Yankees blue. Uh, what era was that jersey from? Because I see you have a patch on there as well.
Yeah, it was the 2003 when it was 100th anniversary of the Yankees.
Amazing, amazing. And that's one of the things I've always loved about the New York jerseys. It's timeless. You could be wearing those jerseys till the end of time, and you could be wearing ones from the 70s, 80s, and aside from the ones that Fanatics are making right now, we won't get into what's been happening there. It's been really, really bad. But as far as the Yankees being adamant about the quality control, I really respect that. And I know a lot of people have an issue with the facial hair and on all this, but there's something to be said about you're coming to work, you're going to be proper, you're going to honor the legacy of the New York Yankees, the heritage, and pretty neat to see. And so today we're going to be talking though about free agency and what's been happening with some of the veterans. And you're based out of Texas. I'm based out of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Well, Blue Jay fans have been dancing in the streets now for weeks because they've been begging for this all off season, and they're getting future Hall of Famer and local boy Joey Votto. He is now minor league contract, but he is a Toronto Blue Jay. And Joey Votto was going on X, formerly Twitter, and complaining that nobody's signing him. He's by his phone waiting. He said that he's going to be taking his aggression out on the shopping carts in the supermarket. Kareem, explain to me the mindset, please, because I did not play MLB ball. Most people listening to this podcast have not played MLB ball. As a veteran of Joey Votto, and considering this is a guy, that in the bag, 400 OBP, great leadership, and sitting by phone almost all spring training with not a single phone call, that's got to be really, really hard.
No, it's mind-boggling, because like you mentioned, the guy played for one team, and I would have thought the Cincinnati Reds would have re-signed him as one of those bench guys that they came to hit, in certain situations. He's a veteran on the team. He's a leader on the team. He's probably the captain of that team in Cincinnati now. Being a native of Toronto, 25 minutes from his house is the stadium. I mean, what a change for him is great. It's probably a dream come true. Not only the people in Canada are happy, he's got to be ecstatic, changing a little bit, going from Cincinnati to Toronto. And that's what he brings to a young team like Toronto. When you have Vladimir Guerrero, you have Bobby Chet, you have the other kids over there, the juniors, I will say, that because their parents play over there, the dads play over there. And so that's great. He's going to teach him a lot of stuff to those guys.
What they should do, they should have Joey Votto in a convertible driving from his house to the stadium and have a parade every single day because no matter what city you're in, no matter what country you're in, there's something about a local boy done good or local girl done good and that feeling of being the hometown pride. I remember back in the day when Daryl Strawberry, Eric Davis, went home to LA, childhood friends, Davis on the Reds, Strawberry with the Mets. And when they signed with the Dodgers in their local team and got to play together, there's something so special about it. Now, it could be a lot of pressure, especially, when you're playing for a big market and you're playing for a very an intense sport. For example, here in Toronto, if you're playing hockey for the Toronto Maple Leafs and you're a local Toronto player, you're going to hear about it a lot. But if you're, for example, a hockey player playing in Arizona, you could walk to the mall. No one's going to bother you. Joey Votto, he won't be able to walk the streets without somebody coming up to him every 2 seconds, and he loves it.
Which is great. Like you mentioned, it's a local kid going back after 17 years from to the beginning of his career or the beginning of his dreams, trying to make it as a major league baseball player. Now he has all the experience in the world. I don't think he's gonna be any pressure for him or any of his or what he's doing because he already done it for so many years. You might feel some butterflies in your stomach going to Toronto, your first at bat. at the stadium. Other than that, I mean, it's like riding a bike. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna help no matter what. He's gonna help the team of Toronto. Blue Jays. Try to accomplish what they're looking, which is first of all make it to the playoff. And like I say, they probably win the World Series. Remember, I told you that a while ago.
I remember you said it, and when you have a Joey Votto and you have a Daniel Vogelbach on your bench, and you got these guys with the energy and you got the thump, uh, is there a world where, because right now, let's assume, with the start of the year that, Votto goes to AAA, Vogelbach makes the team in that kind of world, at some point, can you carry two first base DH guys and have that late inning power sitting on your bench at all times? Is that feasible?
It all depends if your guys, if anyone gets injured or how they're playing, because it's always about the numbers, especially the first month of the season. Some of the guys are going to start struggling, and then they're going to have to make some changes and moves. But I don't want to see Joey Votto going to AAA for the first month of the season. I mean, he doesn't deserve that. He's a veteran major league player who should be on the team regardless of what it is. You're already signing. You're making the deception of bringing it to your team, a local guy. He should be on the team, starting opening day.
I got a conspiracy theory for you on that one. And the conspiracy theory goes like this. So, you got the Buffalo AAA team for the Blue Jays, okay? A lot of MLB teams, they started getting the AAA teams a lot closer to the home park, right? Because when you have this scenario, and there was a case where there's a lot of shuffling and AAA teams keep relocating, right? And somebody's left without a team. Well, there was a point where the Jays AAA team was in Las Vegas. Well, you're not driving an hour from Vegas to Toronto. You have to jump on a flight. But if you're in Buffalo, 40 minutes to an hour and 20 minutes, you're at the stadium. But the thinking is, when you're so close, you're gonna have sellouts all day long because all the teams and all the fans, are gonna want to clamor to your AAA team. Well, as we've seen in numbers for a lot of minor league players and teams, you're not getting in the kind of fans the way you thought you would. But having a Joey Votto in Buffalo brings a lot of Toronto fans with curiosity to Buffalo. Then they get to experience the park, get to enjoy it. So this might be a thing where they said to Joey, nudge, nudge, you're not quite game ready yet. Go down to AAA. We need a bunch of Toronto fans to experience Buffalo. Let's sell some tickets over there, build up the hype, and then you'll come back as the Messiah in May. Maybe.
Maybe that's pretty good assumption. I mean, I played in Buffalo, New York, and when the AAA for the Cleveland Indians back in the days,
Yes,
and,
that's. Tell us about
and
Buffalo. How was it?
the first month is horrible, horrible because it's cold. It's really cold, not enjoyable whatsoever for hitters. Especially you're facing guys that are throwing 98, 99, even 95. You get jumped, your hands don't feel very well. You're running through the cold. I mean, it's not fun the first month, but you have to go through it just like everybody else. So, I mean, the city is great. Like you mentioned, it's only 45 to an hour away from Toronto, from Canada. But I mean, the weather is not helping whatsoever.
Karim, you're being very, very kind, my friend. Let me ask you this. So, spending the time you did in Buffalo. Oh, we lost Karim there for a moment. He's back. Let me ask you this, Kareem. The time you spent playing in Buffalo, did you ever drive through the city and said, "Man, I think I'd like to pick up a house here. I can really see myself relocating here once I'm retired." Did those thoughts ever occur to you?
For Buffalo?
Yeah.
No, not at all. I mean, it's a nice city, like I mentioned it, but it's not the type of weather for me whatsoever. I like Arizona weather. I like Texas weather where I can play golf. Now that I'm retired, that's why I'm over here. Because, 365, you can play golf no matter what. It doesn't snow over here. You don't have any problems. It rains once in a while. It's all about the outdoors for me. And being in Buffalo, New York, very difficult.
It's funny, you're in New York City, you're in Toronto, and even when it's winter, for some reason in Buffalo, they get it harder than everybody else. If you've ever watched the Buffalo Bills game and you watched it in the dead of winter, the first thing is they close the highways, the stadium, they got to shovel out all the snow. it's a different world in Buffalo compared to even the proximity areas. For some reason, the snow just loves to go there. So I agree with you that April, May, not a big tourist destination is Buffalo. So hopefully, Joey doesn't have to be there too long because they don't have a dome either. Now he signs this contract, and at the time of taping, there's still a few guys sitting out there. Even the Tommy Phams of this world. Tommy Pham up and down career, played with a few teams, really came together with Arizona. I'm really shocked that a guy who made it to the World Series was a key part of his team, still sitting out there for that long, not signing. Same thing with JD Martinez, Rich Hill, Michael Lorenzen. And Michael Lorenzen gets traded. And what does he do? He throws a no hitter. And what is going on here? Like, what is with MLB teams and seeing these veteran guys, especially guys, and not that these guys are in their 40s. I mean, you have guys here in their early 30s, and yet spring training is almost done and they don't have a contract.
It's all about the agents nowadays. Unfortunately, like we talked about it before, they waited too long. They probably thought they were gonna get a bigger contract they're supposed to get. And if you roll the dice, that's what happens sometimes. Some of these teams right now in major leagues right now, they might need a hitter. A couple teams need some pitching. So they might be in luck. But unfortunately, since they're not working out with the teams in spring training, you're not going to be ready for opening day. You're not going to be ready. So they're going to send you to the minor league complex, either in Florida or Arizona, depends who they sign where did you sign, and work out for at least a couple more weeks. So by the middle of April, they're going to start, these guys getting back to the major leagues if they're able to sign with someone that they needed. Either a left-hander hitter, a DH, a starting pitcher. It's going to be very difficult for them to start an opening day with any team right now.
If I'm a Michael Lorenzen, for example, I come to teams. My guess is he said 3 to 4 year contract, and I want 60 to 70 million dollars, and we're good to go. And I think teams came back with we were thinking 1 year with a vesting option or 2 years with an opt out. When you're a veteran guy and you don't have a full track history, I mean, this guy was a spot starter, reliever, right? He only recently became a full time starter. Teams are not lining up to give you those monster 3, 4 year deals. I mean, Montgomery was looking for a 7 year deal, apparently. I mean, this is a guy who got traded twice for a reason. This is a guy that not so long ago you said maybe he's a 10 to 12 game winner with a four something ERA. That's not a 7 year deal. So I think there's a giant disconnect between what players expect, like you're saying, and what teams expect. And I think teams are getting more and more nervous saying, we're putting in the money for starting pitching, and these 5 to 7 year deals aren't working so well for us.
Well, you have to you take in consideration nowadays, there are a lot of guys in the mid 20s, they're getting hurt, so teams are losing 2 to 3 years of their service or their playing time from these guys, regardless if you're a pitcher or hitter. Even Aaron Judge, after signing the contract, he get injured again, and they know he's going to get injured. And all other guys, pitching wise, especially the pitchers, you know, if they sign you to a 7 year deal and you're going to pitch three out of the seven, well, I mean, you're wasting 4 years' money on other guys that you can sign. So now we can see it's happening right now. It's like you mentioned, 1 year with a vesting option, 2 years with a vesting option to the third year, but it's a mutual option on the second year with the team and yourself, you know. So that way, both parties can have something in return.
Well, you're wearing that Yankees jersey, so I'm dying to ask you this question. If we were going down to Vegas and you have to bet on over under, and I give you four names, okay? The amount of games they're going to play this year, over under. The magical number we're going to go with is 120. Over under, the amount of games played, Aaron Judge, over under,
Over,
over. Giancarlo Stanton,
under,
Anthony Rizzo,
under,
DJ LeMahieu.
under.
That should answer everything you need to know. And when you say it so with such certainty, I would have gone 4 for 4. I don't think Judge is even going to play 120. I think that between days off, between various ailments, and that's a scary proposition. And that's hitters, And if I'm putting my money I like putting the big money into hitters. I don't like putting the money into pitchers. If we looked at every single free agent contract of 5 year plus, and we say to ourselves, how many of these were good investments? There's only one contract that surprised me a little bit, but was the best deal was Zach Wheeler on Philadelphia. When they signed him out of New York, he was not the Zach Wheeler we saw now. We saw glimpses of it, but he had a long injury history, and he was nothing but steady for them. That's the only contract off the top of my head that I can think about that really, really panned out. With pitchers, it's really hit and miss.
It's more than miss than a hit, you know. Unfortunately, they all at some point they'll get the Tommy John, you know, including Otani for the second time in 6 years, you know. Unfortunately, but that's what is gonna happen, especially the new pitcher with the Dodgers right now too.
Yamamoto,
You'll
yeah.
Yamamoto, yeah, it's gonna be wait for a year. Give me one more year, and he's gonna have a TJ again too. And Tommy John, we'll
It's
see.
the odds are there, unfortunately. But then they will have Otani back. But I believe he had one in. This is his third one, is it not? From when he was younger in Japan, if I might be mistaken. But
Yeah, I think the second only.
whether it's your second or third, as soon as you have a second TJ, that's a scary proposition, and we don't know what he's going to look like. For me, I think Otani's future is in the bullpen. I think he's going to be a closer at some point. I think just the wear and tear, trying to be a full-time slugger plus a full-time starting pitcher. I don't think he's going to be able to keep doing this forever and ever and ever. And I think if you want to get that arm, you know what? Having an electric closer, the way he closed out the WBC the other year, won't necessarily be a bad thing. So, final question as we end off today's episode. So, your prediction again, you have the Toronto Blue Jays winning the World Series, right? And who are they facing in the World Series?
Atlanta Braves. Who else? I mean, they are stuck. It's either them or Philadelphia. But I'm going with Atlanta this year. I think they're gonna go all the way.
And I have Philadelphia and Texas. This is the year I think Philadelphia is going to take it. That's my prediction. So then this is going to be a great story because then this will be Joey Votto's probably final year, and he's going to win his World Series as his hometown team. So that's a script you're writing. We'll go with that.
That's We're going with the movie.
We're gonna go with the movie book ending for Joey Votto. I love it, and Toronto fans are rejoicing. And Kareem, you have new fans in Toronto cheering you on because I can tell you something. I listen to a lot of Toronto sports radio. There isn't a lot of cheering for, hey, World Series is coming this year. It's what the heck did we do in the off season? We did not get Otani. We lost Chapman on a short deal, and we got Votto. That's kind of where fans are at. So it in and Manoa's arm has been hurting, and Gosman arm has been hurting. Buddy, it's yeah, it's funny. You can't go to any team without somebody having an ailment or another. But we got to remember, right? It's 162 games plus spring training plus the playoffs. Man, so much can happen between now and October.
Hey, you saw the Washington Nationals, how they were midway through the season, actually before the season, midway through the season, after May 30th or 31st, they were like 20 and 40 something. Nobody thought that they were going to make even the playoff or going to be a 500 team. They end up winning the World Series. So everything can happen in baseball.
And keep an eye, folks. I've been telling you, Cincinnati Reds, watch a lot of their games with all those players. Even with the recent drug suspension, they lost their third baseman. They have a glut of these young infielders that can all hit 20, 25 home runs. The Reds are going to make the playoffs this year. They're going to start getting their feet wet, and they just get a little bit of pitching going, and that is going to be a very, very scary team. They're going to be very Ranger-like, in my opinion. But stay tuned for next week because it's going to be our most controversial episode of the Chosen Baseball Journey ever. So we're going to be talking about a couple names and what the heck is going on in baseball, and maybe they need to be signed. So stay tuned. Karim Garcia, Jonathan Cohen, and this is Chosen Baseball Journey.